Hi, this is OUR Path to Research, an Office of Undergraduate Research podcast where you'll learn about the incredible variety of research here at MAC.
We'll be sharing tips, insights, and opportunities with students along their path to research. We are your hosts,
Tina?
and Hussein. We have a very special guest with us here today from the Department of Psychology, Neuroscience, and Behaviour. Would you please like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Dan Cameron. I'm a Postdoctoral Fellow in the Department of Psychology, Neuroscience, and Behaviour, like you just said, here at McMaster. It's in the Faculty of Science. I've been working here for about almost 7 years, or this coming September will be 7 years, so I've been in this role. I do research related to music cognition and music neuroscience. So how is it that we take music, this auditory signal, and turn it into the whole rich set of behaviors and complex feelings and all the stuff that goes along with that. And we do some studies with infants and children, how they're learning this. From a developmental perspective, we're trying to understand music perception, and we do some live concert research at the Live Lab, this kind of really amazing facility we've got here at McMaster. It's a performance theater and it's a research lab, so we can measure brain activity or physiological responses or movement and all kinds of things from musicians and audience members. So that's the kind of world that I'm coming from.
That's amazing. And I heard that you take volunteers, so what can they learn and do in your lab?
Yeah, we have volunteers that help with our research projects. We're very much a team-oriented environment. We have many different students, levels of students. I supervise undergraduates from first year all the way up to their fourth year doing honors theses. There are a number of graduate students in the lab and in the group around us, and postdoctoral fellows like myself. There's a number of different faculty members studying this topic at McMaster, so it's quite a rich area. And volunteers play an important role. They're kind of like it's the entryway into getting into research for a lot of students is taking a volunteer position. And there's any number of things we might have a volunteer in the lab do, because research is so varied from one project to another, from one type of research or one method to another. They all involve different kinds of tasks. So sometimes we have volunteers reviewing video data of infants and children participating in our studies in the lab, and they're kind of going through, watching these and coding them. How much did the infant smile or move, or what was going on with the parent in that interaction or something like that. Or we have them really working with data, and they're kind of analyzing data and making figures and tables to represent the data that we've already collected. Maybe they're working with audio software to generate new kinds of sounds and rhythms and music samples that we use in our experiments. So it really depends on the project. And it also depends on the person, who the volunteer is, what their interests are, what their skills are that they're bringing to it, because it's often a process of trying to find the best fit. When there's someone who's really motivated and wants to join our lab and get into research, how can we best involve them that's good for them and good for the research, using their skills and their interests and experience and matching that up with some ongoing projects or sometimes starting something new.
You mentioned that you try to find the best fit for the student, but how specifically do you do that?
Well, it depends what's available. I mean, on the range of kind of ways you can decide what project to do. It could be that a student comes to me and says, "I've got this idea for a research project. It's on XYZ," and they tell it to me. Or it could be all the way down the other end of the extreme, where a student says, "I want to do some research," and I say, "Okay, I have a project ready. It's this XYZ, and you can do that if you want to." Usually it's more toward the latter, more like we have these ongoing projects that usually lead from one to another, and so it's a series of things. I have expertise only a certain number of things. So if a student came to me and said, "Oh, I want to do research on this, but I don't really know how to do that," or "That's not really in my area of training and expertise and what I could, genuinely supervise," we would say, "Oh, I don't really have something that fits with that interest, but how about something down here?" So it's a conversation and finding what they're able to slot into in a useful way that is meeting their goals about getting research experience and also meeting our goals of moving the research along, getting people to help us. As I said, it's a team, so we need people to help with that.
I'm really glad that you consider all these factors when you choose a student to help you volunteer. And I think that's good that you're trying to help them grow and develop in their role. But how do you provide some sort of mentorship or support for them exactly?
Well, it depends what they're looking for. So if the idea is that it's mutually beneficial, to be honest. So if they have a goal of, oh, I want to get better with data analysis, or I just want to try anything in research. I've heard it's interesting, but I don't know much about it. I just want to get, my feet wet and try it out. Okay, those are reasonable goals that I can help that student see a few different things in research. Maybe I expose them to different types of projects, but it should be mutually beneficial, especially if it involves training this person. Okay, we're investing some time in them, and so we want them to genuinely help with something and actually help move things along. And so pairing them up with other students, more senior students, to kind of train them and show them the ropes and show them how this method works, or this data analysis works, or whatever it might be. So there's different ways that could go.
Also, there's kind of like peer support from like graduate students or upper year students.
Absolutely, yeah. So I try to make that situation where people can help each other, and in kind of unpredictable ways sometimes. We have group meetings in addition to just project meetings, where there's often a couple of students, or 2 to 4 students together meeting with me about that project. How's it going? Who's going to work on what this week? And we move forward. I'll have one-on-one meetings as well to check in, not necessarily every week, but okay, how are things going generally? Are you kind of meeting your goals research-wise? How's your term going? How are you feeling?
Yeah.
And I'm not everything to the students. I'm just a person, and in this role, I'm kind of the research supervisor. So it's not my job to instruct about time management, or how to balance studying and volunteering and all these different things. But that often comes up because people, they sign up to study, and then the term gets really busy, and they're realizing, they're kind of stressed out, or things are hard. Okay, we can have a chat about that. I'm not the expert on all those things, but we can see the person in the context of what we're working on. So if someone's having a hard time generally, that's going to affect how their volunteering goes and how the research goes. So I want to, we can have a conversation about that. So mentorship can be, many different kinds of things. And another thing that comes up is kind of career goals. What are they doing with their degree? What do they want to do after their degree? Are they interested in research longer term? So people are often curious, like, what's my research path? How did I get into research? How is it going for me how was it going for me at different stages? What are the challenges? What are the fun things? So I like having those conversations.
That kind of support truly sounds invaluable, especially for a student just starting out of research, which can be a process that's quite daunting. Beyond mentorship, how do you think volunteering helps a student in their research journey?
I think volunteering is useful for getting into research when you don't have other options, or if you're not sure but kind of want to try it out. Just being involved in research is the best way to find out about research. And whether that's through a course, I know in our department there's a kind of graduated system of courses, a second-year course that's an independent research kind of project where you get matched up in a lab and we kind of supervise them. And then there's a third-year version of that course, and then a fourth-year version and a thesis as well. So they can stay with us for those few years, and it's a kind of way of getting them involved. I know a lot of departments don't have that, and so volunteering is the kind of obvious, way to get into research. I think there's a big challenge of if you wait until your honors thesis to get any research experience, you're really learning from scratch, and that's a big, the thesis is hard. It's a lot of work, and if you're totally new to research and the stuff you're doing, then it'll be even harder compared to if you have a little bit of or maybe more than a little bit, a couple years of kind of an on-ramp, being involved in a lab, volunteering with, various things, gradually getting to know the people in that situation, what the research is about, what's interesting about it, what they like about it, what they don't like about it. That can help guide people. And some students, they volunteer in a lab and realize, actually, I don't really want to do this research. Yeah. That's a good thing to find out. If you thought you might be interested in it, that's not really for me for one reason or another. Okay, try something else if you're still interested in research. So I think it's volunteering is an effective way to get your feet wet and try to, get involved in a little bit of research when you don't have other options. Everyone would like a research assistant job, a paid position over the summer. Everyone's budgets are really, really tight these days around universities, so those positions are so few and far between. Sometimes they're here and there, but most students you can't count on getting those. So volunteering is a good way to get involved for sure.
I'm really glad that volunteering gives students like a foot in the door to research. So what are some projects that they can look forward to if they were to volunteer for you?
So one area of research I do is related to development and how it is that infants and children perceive music, and especially musical rhythms, and how their perception of those rhythms corresponds to their feeling, and whether they want to move to some rhythms more than others, and how that changes as they get older.
Yeah.
So that area of projects involves some brain measurements, but also a lot of behavior, of measuring how infants move or react when we play different rhythms for them. Another area of projects is taking place in the live lab. So this kind of performance theater that's also a science lab that we have here at McMaster. It's a really amazing facility. So we've done some cool concert experiments there where we have a genuine concert. People are paying tickets and they're coming, they're enjoying the music, but we're doing some data collection at the same time where, for example, we can put infrared markers, or they're actually reflective markers all on different parts of their body, and then a whole system of cameras around the room, it's a motion capture system, can track those markers, and we can see these kind of complex dynamics of how people's bodies are moving at a concert and how they're moving all together. So lots of behavioral studies of movement in response to music, or we can even measure musicians on stage when they're performing and how they're using their bodies in different ways. Another area of research that I've got some students working on now, it came out of one of these live lab studies where we had a concert and we used these really, really low frequency speakers, like really low bass. And it was we would turn that low bass on just a tiny little bit. So people couldn't even hear when it came on. And we would turn it on for a little bit, turn it off for a little bit, on, off, on, for like 2.5 minutes at a time. And we used the motion capture system to see how much they were moving. And it turned out that even though they couldn't hear this really low frequency bass, when it was on, people were dancing a little more.
Oh.
So now we're interested in how did that work? So we're looking at the physiological responses to that low frequency sound and the behavioral responses, not in a whole concert, but it kind of just in individual sessions. So looking at physiology, looking at neural measures, looking at infants in development, looking at live concerts, we've got quite a range of projects and topics that we're interested in, research questions, things we're trying to understand and answer.
So all of your projects sound really interesting, and I can imagine you've talked about them at MAC before. How has your experience been while presenting at seminars?
I like presenting at seminars and giving talks generally. It's quite a varied thing. Sometimes you're giving a talk to a public audience, sometimes to students in a kind of educational situation, like a guest lecture at a course, or sometimes for a conference where it's my research colleagues from around the world. So all of them involve knowing who your audience is and communicating something about what you are learning and have learned from your research to them. And that's something I've really enjoyed over the years of being in research. So some of the seminars that are happening here are directed towards students in a way that they shouldn't already know about this topic. And it's not specifically pedagogical in the sense of like, okay, you need to learn this for your exam next week. It's about introducing them to the cool research that's going on at McMaster. So I gave one of these seminars last year for students, and that led to like a lot of interest from eager students who were motivated and wanted to get involved, and that was great. I've also given some public talks recently. So another faculty member in our department, Dr. John Everson, we do related work. He's also interested in rhythm and music and movement, and we gave a public talk at Fairweather Brewery. So there's been a group in our department that's organized a series of public-facing talks at that brewery, and it's called Psychology Live. I encourage people to check it out. They try to get really like engaging, entertaining talks. And at this one, we did something kind of different than we normally do, and we kind of both, because we were doing it together, we were kind of trading off. I'll talk about this topic, you talk about that topic, and have a kind of conversation as we're going. But because we're both also drummers, we did some demonstration of like how does rhythm make us want to move and this kind of thing. And that was fun to do for an audience in a new way. So it's fun to get these new opportunities with giving talks or seminars to come up with new ways to communicate what I study.
The drum demonstration sounds like a lot of fun.
It was fun, yeah.
That is one of the fun part about science. You get to make it fun and interactive and, have fun. But looking at this from the perspective of a student, why do you think a student should make an effort to come to these seminars?
Well, if a student is interested in research or thinks they might be interested in research, they should absolutely come to seminars and any other venue. There's so many different public talks or just free open talks that they could go to on campus. So keep your ears open, look for signs. if it seems like an interesting topic, even if it's not what you want to do for your career or what you definitely want to specialize in, if it just seems like something interesting, just go and listen. This is really one of the benefits of being an undergraduate student at especially a large research-intensive university like McMaster. There's so many experts around, so many interesting people that study really cool things about how our world works. So if you're a curious person, if research kind of might be in your world of things you're interested in, you should absolutely go to see these things, because you never know what might really grab you or give you an idea about what you might want to do research-wise, or just learn about more, or even for a career, who knows. You have to expose yourself to those things, though. You can't just get by, learning things in your classes and hoping that something kind of piques your interest that way. That's good if it does, but that type of learning, there's a really important place for that, a type of learning of, didactic. Someone's instructing me and lecturing me, and I'm going to memorize this information and be tested on it later. Now I kind of know that information. But when you get involved in our lab, volunteering and going to research seminars, it's more experiential. You're trying to actually understand something. It's a little more like the real world, that you're trying to solve a problem. You're going to do a project that answers a question. This is the whole thing with science. We don't know all the answers yet. This is the process of trying to better understand the world and understand things we don't already understand. So that makes it more, it can be challenging for students to adjust, because we don't have a syllabus. If they come to volunteer or do a course in our lab, okay, the term's job, or the job over the term, is to work on this project and help advance this research forward. We can't say, on week 3 you will be doing this, on week 4 you'll be doing this. So you have to get involved to kind of get your hands dirty and start helping out in research to see if you like it. And seminars are a great way to kind of get a feel for what labs are out there, what types of research are going on that might appeal to you. Research with humans, or with, pipetting, or with, performance and music, the stuff I was talking about, or brain imaging, or something totally different. There's such a huge range that you need to kind of get exposed to some different ideas to know what might most grab you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with seminars helping you kind of figure out your research interest. I remember attending yours last year, and it got me more interested in music and movement research.
Great.
So thank you. Do you have a lot of students that contact you after seminars?
Yeah, that's common, that after I give a talk or sometimes a guest lecture for a course, that people follow up and they want to find a way to get involved. And so that usually leads to a conversation. I say, sure, we'll set up a time to meet, usually over Zoom. And, we have a chat about what they want to do, why they're interested in this research. I talk about some of the projects we might be doing, and we see if there's a good fit there. Or it can lead to, applying to do some of these course-based projects like we have in our department. And other departments and programs have them as well sometimes. So, yeah, that's a great way for me to, get new students involved in the project. And I was glad when you followed up and you wanted to be involved in our lab. So, I hope to build on those things for sure.
So based off of what you've said, it surely sounds like seminars are a great way for students to improve their learning and get involved.
Yes.
It's great that the Office of Undergraduate Research here at McMaster has launched these new research courses. One of them does involve going to seminars and getting a course credit for it. And another one involves volunteering in a lab for 20 hours and getting a credit for it.
Yep.
So how do you think these courses would benefit students in their research journey?
I think it's a great opportunity. I'm interested to see how these new courses go, because it formalizes the plan a little bit. So rather than a student needing to kind of motivate themselves, I'm interested in going to seminars, but I can't find the energy and the time. I know everyone's so busy to track down, where's that information? What seminar should I go to? If you've signed up for it and you're getting course credit for it, that just formalizes it. Okay, I have that little bit of motivation that I'm just going to sign up and go and do those things, and it's a little more straightforward. And then you're getting a little bit of course credit for it, all the better. Same with volunteering. If you don't have time, or your program doesn't have an opportunity to do a research course, then volunteering is a great opportunity. But some students, they don't have enough time really to volunteer. Giving course credit is a great way to, formalize this. At least you're getting something that will contribute and as a benefit to them in return for their volunteering.
I definitely agree that the courses will help, and about the formalization process. And I think it'll help your lab and your research as well.
I hope so, yeah.
Everyone, please be on the lookout for these courses dropping in spring 2025. By enrolling in these courses, you can volunteer in labs just like Dr. Cameron's. Thank you so much for your time and coming to talk to us.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
Thank you.
It's great. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Have a burning question?
Want to learn about engaging events and research opportunities?
Feel free to DM us at our Instagram at McMasterOUR and tune in for future episodes. Bye!